Hello and welcome to the 6CW Legacy podcast, brought to you by Harlequin Productions. And tonight we have a very special guest, one of my favourite e-fedders of all time. I won't spoil it for you, I will just say, let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to the 6CW Legacy podcast. I am joined today by one of the greatest e-fedders of 6CW history, Declan Kenny. Declan, thank you for coming on the show. Could you tell us a bit about...
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Could you tell us...
Like cable in person.
Could you tell us a bit about how you got into e-fedding?
Pretty much I got a job in the civil service and I was pretty bored in work, so I started cruising all the forums and came across 6WF, and then I was just reading, and then I think it was GDC started up 6CW, just kind of took it from there.
Cool. And what do you enjoy mostly about it?
I'm big into creative writing, so it's just the whole writing part of it. I didn't really care about the rest, but then I just got into it more and more, and like I actually don't watch wrestling anymore, but I like the imagination part.
Do you find, like, because you don't watch wrestling anymore, do you find it hard to sometimes get inspiration, like to do like a wrestling promo?
No, not really. I've been doing this for, Jesus, I think it's nearly 8 years now, so the inspiration just kind of comes. You just kind of get into that mode and just start writing.
If you hear
all the good storylines and stuff lately, so
yeah, if you hear any glugging in the background, it's me pouring JD Tennessee Fire.
That Ed's tied up in the background, is it?
Possibly Ed tied up in the background till tomorrow afternoon. Yeah.
Say he's tied up in the background of someone's room anyway.
Always. Tonight, obviously, big show for 6CW TV title tournament. We've already spoke about this in the previous podcast, but obviously there was some controversy before the TV title tournament, how it came about. What was your... Because obviously I've told Chris and Paul and everyone what my initial reaction was. What was your initial reaction after Day of Reckoning?
I think it was more kind of it was more disappointment that so much work went into our kind of promos and divisions and stuff, and then like in the middle of the match we just got pretty much built out. And in the Battle Royal, Cerebus got a good showing. Me and you kind of just battered each other and jumped out. It wasn't obviously the bigger picture, but at that time, the bigger picture kind of goes out the window. And
yeah, I mean, like we've said, I mean, you promo for so long, you expect. I don't know. You don't expect something. You just look at it.
No, you don't expect it. You don't. But it'd be like, no, it would be nice to have a big showing. But
you have a vision in your head, don't you?
A big showing, and then kind of getting the old heave ho out the door.
Yep.
The whole extreme title getting booted, but obviously the bigger picture, and we'll just see where it goes from here.
I'm liking how Dicey as a character is sort of handling it at the moment. I've kind of spoilt myself. I've looked at the show and I've seen the Dicey versus Scorpion match.
Is it Scorpion? Is it Brother Love or whatever? These days.
Who knows? But it's I don't know. I like how the character is sort of carrying on from the Extreme feud, he's being stubborn. Engel's been trying to sort of drag him up with him, and Dicey's having none of it. Cerberus is doing his own thing, but I'm pretty sure we're all going to come together at some point.
I'd say somewhere down the line, probably Jones will get Engel to wind Dicey up, or get Cerebus to attack him, or someone to attack him down the line. But that's the thing at the moment, like, Dicey doesn't have a feud.
You see, without knowing in hindsight what's going to happen, after reading that match, I think Engel will go out against that Anthony Grace, and Dicey's going to interfere. That's how I vision it now in my head.
I don't know that part. I did write the Dicey segment on Paul's request, but that's all I kind of got. He just told me to go out and pretty much tell him to shove the tournament up his arse, and that's what happened.
How have you been following Cerberus's promos at all since the big announcement?
Read most of the promos. Like, when you're stuck in an office for 9 hours a day, there's not much else you can do, especially waiting for 2 weeks waiting for the show. So Ed's always full of enlightenment on the Facebook chat, though, right? Yeah, I mean, if you I literally just pop on Facebook chat, and Ed's always there with something just to, brighten up your day. That's his job. He's like 6CW Energizer Bunny.
I think they let him loose with some writing on the pre-show.
The pre-show was good.
The pre-show was funny. I enjoyed the pre-show.
Yeah.
Not going to speak about him too much, but Man Mountain Mike did get a good showing.
I did. I think everyone did. I think Ed wrote it very well. You know, he's still a bit disgruntled because he thinks someone altered a bit of it, so he'll have a meltdown, and probably him and Liam will go at it again about fucking Tinder or some shit like that.
They're like chalk and cheese when they get together.
Say if they were in the real world together, they'd probably be best mates. They hate each other secretly.
Yep. What about going back to Cerberus's promos? How do you feel like his character's developed since Day of Reckoning? Do you think he's moving forward? I mean, I saw his last promo for this tournament, and it was brilliant, I thought.
Nando's, for a while, since he came back, he's been fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
there's air to run with it's the only Extreme champion that's lost it twice without losing it. So he must be doing something right. But I think he will bring the character along. I think other than Joshua, he is the other big man of the company, the big monster. So down the line, he'll probably surpass him. And he has world champion written all over pretty much.
I just think with Cerberus, when we've been doing the whole triple threat feud or fatal four-way, however you want to look at it, because obviously Vincent Costello wasn't really involved in the whole promo process. I just thought, like, I was promoing, like, first off, like, probably 80% of the time, and then Cerberus would just come out and just knock it out of the park, and I'd be like, how can I top that? Every single time, every single week, it's been like, how can I top that?
That's what I thought every time the 2 years fucking promos. How the fuck am I gonna do this?
I love your promos though, Dec, because they're funny, but you know people.
Tragic.
But people know that Dicey Reilly is a former legend. Well, he's not a former legend. He is a legend of 6CW, and he's a former champion. And people know that. Your promos are just typical drunken sort of anger, and it works. It works for you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I tried, and I came back forced to kind of knock. He's not the typical drunk anymore. It worked for a while, and then obviously with kind of spiraling down and down and down, and then Sally Hendricks coming back and stuff like that. And you always get dragged back to the.
But that's a development. Do you know what I mean? You know, and for example, with Engel now, he started off. He came back with the clown gimmick, attacked Hero, and then over like till now, he's now in a suit, combed back hair, and you know, you don't know what he's gonna do next. It's just character development, and Dicey has come along so far.
Well, from the beginning, yeah, it has, like, because, Jesus, I was, like, ashamed of most of my promos when we first started. It was just him in a bar, getting into a bar fight, getting arrested. Next week, him in a bar, getting a bar fight, getting arrested. So there was no character development at all, and
it won your titles.
Keep going and doing that. So, I won titles. I think most of the Dicey winning titles back in the day was the Fed was pretty depleted when he was winning like most of his titles, so they had to put them on someone. It's probably because I was there the longest.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with some live, well, technically live Facebook questions. Paul McCarthy says we've got to discuss Chris Patrick back from the dead. Now, I asked you before we started recording who the hell is Chris Patrick, because I didn't know. So it's pretty much you. You know, what's your reaction to that? If Chris Patrick was back from the dead, how would you feel?
Well, he was. That was when he came back to 6WF the last time. He actually, when I left for, it was nearly 2 years, I dropped him and Dicey, and I was just too busy in work. And then one day I was talking to Beer, and he just says, "Do you want to bring him back?" And I said, "Well, how are we going to do that? Like, he died in a car crash the last show he was in." And he goes, "Well, maybe he didn't die in a car crash. Maybe he did technically die, but they covered it up, and he went back to America. He couldn't remember all his past, and so we kind of evolved it from there." I just thought it was a new, fun angle, but I seen some of the reaction from Paul and stuff on 6CW, and I don't think everyone kind of liked the angle, but it worked because he came back as Max Adamson's guardian angel, because the two of them feuded with each other, and Max kind of won the title, and when Chris died, he kind of turned heel and said that he's always better than Chris, and he had Chris's wife come out and he kind of berated her and stuff, and so it worked as him coming back as the bodyguard and the big reveal, and then going on, and after a while, near probably the last pay-per-view of 6WF, Chris won the title off Max, and then the Fed closed, and it's kiss of death, really.
Well, we all know it was actually Jeff Steele that gave the kiss of death.
It's usually Lex Hart. I think he's closed a couple of Feds in his time.
Yeah, but it is going strong with this one. I have faith. Just a little bit. Ed wants to know, do you actually Skype his mum? And he wants to know honestly. He's a bit concerned.
Remember the Dirty Den team that came out and he was Skyping people and sucking fingers? But she loves it. Tell him I'm a gentle lover.
A gentle lover, Dicey Reilly.
Yeah, that's it. She's a nice woman. She's keen.
Okay, so have Chris Patrick's and Dicey Reilly ever met?
Once. When I think it was when Chaos kidnapped Chris Patrick's wife, and he was pretty much looking around England for her, and he came across Dicey in a bar, and Dicey gave him some advice, and kind of love him, because Chris Patrick was an Irish American and Dicey was Irish, so he kind of gave him some advice, and he went off, and then ended up finding her in the end, but that was it. There was never any fights or. So I think Dicey was only in 6WF for I think a month or two before he left completely, and he just wrote me out.
So did they get on? Like, when they met, did they get on?
That was more Dicey ripping the piss out of Chris Patrick's, calling him a plastic paddy, and he's not really Irish and all this crack, but
fair enough.
That was it. And then he just told him to keep looking, be the champion he is, and all this malarkey, kind of sentimental.
So
who had I write every now and then.
Ed Kent, that never reads the shows or promos, would they ever like team up with the lady that hangs around with Dicey? Obviously, meaning Sally Hendricks.
Would Dicey team up with her?
No, would Dicey and Chris Patrick's team up on her?
I don't think I'd bring Chris Patrick's back. When I started off, he was kind of like a Rob Van Dam type figure, but I had a good run with him twice, but I just kind of couldn't write for a baby face. I kind of ran out of ideas.
I find it so hard. With
he turned heel, and the heel was a bit easier, but it didn't suit him.
No, I find it so hard. Like I've tried doing babyface with characters, and it's difficult for me. I mean, Engel, when he first came back, was originally going to be sort of a tweener, and I've gone pretty much full heel at the moment. I don't know where I'm going right now. Promos just like come to my head and I just write them out, but the aim is to sort of have him go a little bit crazy and maybe get the fans back on his side, but in terms of actually writing a proper babyface, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
It's harder though. That's why the people that can do it I have a lot of respect for, because it is probably one of the hardest things to do. Heel is easy. You can either be cocky heel, or you can be just a badass, or you can be just a mute monster with a manager. But babyface, you can't. You have to be balls and all. You have to be out there doing it by yourself, and it's a hard thing to do. So just glad Dicey's not a babyface.
Okay, so will you do another Child's Party promo soon? So I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, well, if Engel and Dicey do sort of come together around Night of Glory time, which would be a nice thing, just saying, that Child Party scenario could be revisited.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah.
That was just something I just threw up. I just kind of spoiled. I was trying to add in as much people out of Fed that I knew.
Was that the week where we sort of had a Deadpool obsession and we were just breaking the fourth wall?
Yeah.
It was the three-headed cock week, weren't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had myself in it. I had you in it. In one with the other one. Then I had Ed in that one in the swimming pool, and then I had Paul, it's not a real name, McCarthy as well.
Go on. Sorry.
No, that was it. Like, I just threw it up, but like I do kind of promos like that a lot. I just get bored and working, and they say, what could be funny?
Just do something spontaneous, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole three-headed cock storyline, I've actually.
Well, you came up with that one, so.
Pardon?
You came up with that.
Well, I did, but you sort of rolled with it. You went, you know what, that's a good idea, and you did it. And then I thought, right, okay, I need to do my part to it. And you did it was the week after the Extreme title match, you did another one. And I think Dec behind the bar says something like, oh, that's the guy that bought you the drinks. He never bought you the drinks, he sort of walks away. He kicks off at the barman and just walks away. So I was going to do a three-headed cock promo that sort of fixed your plot hole.
Was that the one where Sally glassed your man at the bar?
No, I deleted it by accident. It was the one I was writing before I got Open Office. I'll probably revisit it if we do start.
If you do, yes, sure. The three-headed cock. We were just missing one cock in those promos. That was Nando. He
didn't want to take part in that, did he? Okay, so why is Paul McCarthy's name not real?
I see, it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't real. It was supposed to be. His name is made up as in Paul McCarthy, the Beatle. But for whatever reason, I wrote it as it's not a real name. As Dicey was confused that this kid had the same name as a Beatle.
But I found that actually funny that you'd said, Paul McCarthy's name's not funny, because when I was reading it, I read it as like Paul McCarthy was such a good name, it can't be real. That's how I read it. Obviously, you've got you had your reasoning behind it, but that's how I read it because of how you wrote it.
It's just a complete mistype, brain fart that I just typed the wrong words there.
But it makes things. Sometimes you do that, and it makes it better. I think
I think it kind of confused, especially Paul. Why does he not think my name is real? Well, I do, Paula. I believe that's your real name.
Okay, so what made you change your mind about coming back to 6CW?
I think because I moved jobs again and I had more time to actually start writing. I came back to 6WF, and then when that folded, I was kind of reading the shows, and there was kind of a bit of hemming and hawing, and then JJ just asked me, and he just said, "Do you want to come back?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And it was supposed to be a build-up, but Dicey just kept appearing in that show, so it was like the worst kept secret in the world that he was going to just come back properly. And then they threw me in with Perfect Jack, which I actually loved that storyline. Just it kind of ended a bit weird that we never kind of got not the payoff, we didn't get the big match, because Dicey and Liam Wood then kind of clicked together and they went off their way, and PJ kind of not stopped promoing, but he stopped being around as much, and then he rejoined Perfect Execution, so everything was happy in the end.
You've got to hand it to creative though, because they throw things at a wall and sometimes they stick, sometimes they fall, they pick them back up and they throw them again until they stick.
I kind of knew that PJ was going to turn on Dicey at some stage, but not literally the first pay-per-view. That was a shock. I think a shock pretty much everyone. I think everyone knew he was going to do it at some stage, but not the very first pay-per-view when Dicey was about to pin Red Arrow for the titles. So it was very well written, very well done, and it was a kind of holy fuck. And then the feud happened, and then the Woods feud happened, and then just kept going. So I've been quite lucky since I came back to have such good feuds.
Yeah. Did you ever forgive Paul for the Genesis reveal?
What, him being the head of Genesis?
That's how the question's worded. It just says, have you ever forgiven him for the Genesis reveal?
I think it's because him and Dicey were tag team partners. Pink Potato. And I think that was probably the biggest shock I've had in E-Fed, because I don't think anyone's seen that one coming. And because Dicey and Lex were kind of bonding together, and all of a sudden, boom, he's the head of the evil organisation. So
I remember back in the day when Engel had Aftermath for a day, and you were sort of torturing, was it Dubois or it Lederman? I can't remember.
It was Gerard Dubois.
You were torturing him, and he was tied up. Engel had tied him up, and you were just drinking in front of him and just being.
So we got the strippers in.
Dicey Reilly, basically. And then at the end of that show, did Engel low blow Dicey or something?
Can't remember.
I read it back a few weeks ago because I thought, if you're coming on the show, I'm trying to sort of make out that Dicey and Engel's written in the stars. I think there was in both stints in the old 6CW. I think Engel and Dicey both met up and had tension, and it's actually finally coming to fruition.
I think we had a couple of, not run-ins, but I think we promoed with each other once or twice.
Promo with each other. I think we were a tag team just briefly.
I swear if it was one of Dubs' storylines, I think he tagged me with everyone at some stage. I think he tagged everyone with everyone just because he ran out of ideas and just threw them all together.
I'm going to be honest with you now, and this I'm not like being an obsessive fanboy, but every single time I've come back, I have asked in some way, shape or form to be involved with Dicey. Now I wanted Engel to be involved with Dicey, and I've had it several times, and then I've left. And this time is the first time it's been sort of extended. What's been your favourite feud over the years?
Jesus, say probably against Leon, Keith Leon. I think just because I'm friends with Jack as well, and I think the two characters kind of rub each other the wrong way because they're very, very similar. Except Leon is probably better than Dicey, but Dicey doesn't want to admit it. But I think the extreme feuds they've had against each other. That's how I was reading Paul's, and one of them was the greatest he-fed moment. I think Leon coming out and winning the 6CWF Battle Royal, I can't remember the name of it. We came out with Destiny after him and Dicey fought in the Extreme title match in the Chamber of Horrors, and he came out and won it. He's just the character. I just really love the Leon character.
Because there was talk in the prediction thread about. There was talk about you and Keith Leon at Night of Glory in the prediction thread, if you for Day of Reckoning.
Yeah, I was talking to Jack a while ago, and the two of us kind of decided. I don't think it's the right time for the two of them, because the last feud I had before I hung up the boots with Dicey was with Leon as well. I think we've kind of done it a lot. I don't think it'd be the same if we did it straight away again. I think give it a bit of time, and then I can't see them not butting heads again at some stage. I think there's a lot of history and there's a lot of animosity between the two of them, but I think a lot of respect as well. Well, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, unless obviously Paul or Chris or Matt have different ideas, and next week all of a sudden Leon comes out and batters Dicey, and that's it.
Out of Mr. Kenty and whatever shit character Ed promos for now, do you prefer?
Mr. Kenty. I think Ed should just bring him back. That's it.
Honestly, Mr. Kenty was he was a good promo. I mean, I'm not saying Aaron Heath isn't.
Mr. Kenty was. I don't think Ed is. Well, he was.
When looking back with Genesis, Kenty was a very, very good promoer, and I thought it was going to be sort of like an up and coming star. With Aaron Heath, I don't feel that he's a bad character. I just don't know. I mean, it doesn't help that he promos on a Sunday, but
I think that's the only thing kind of holding him back is lack of back and forths and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no feuds for him because obviously he only promos on a Sunday. When
I returned to 6WF, Mr. Kenty was the champion. He was the top face of the company, and then him and Max had a big feud, which was brilliant as well. I don't know why Ed just turned to Aaron Heath instead of bringing Kenty back. Maybe he just wanted a change with his new drug-fueled lifestyle.
I mean, we could talk about Mandy all day long. Facebook chat is probably the best.
Sometimes it's 9:15. Ed is probably already on Mandy.
He is. He hasn't posted anything on Facebook yet for a while. He's posted.
Can't wait to see the Snapchats in the morning.
Oh man, I might send him a few myself. Speaking of Snapchat, you are probably one of the funniest guys I've ever met on Snapchat. It's like nearly every day I wake up and there's someone there and it's just like, oh God, you've brightened my day up.
That's boredom. I sit in work just staring at a screen and going, fucking on the toilet, and then I just end up Snapchatting loads of people. I think I pester me sister so much on Snapchat. I don't know how she hasn't killed me yet.
I read yours and I watch yours or I click on yours and I just think I need to match that, and then I just do something stupid. First thing in the morning I just do something stupid.
Just earlier on when you sent me, I think it was 3 or something, when I started laughing. I was out shopping with my wife. Do you know what you're laughing at?
Was it the I like to move it.
What's all I get offered?
What's your best non-hardcore match?
Out of everyone, or out of Dicey, or...
It just says best non-hardcore match ever.
Ever? Probably the fight, I think it was a 6WF. It was a Perfect Jack versus Lex Hart and the title fight. It was like Chris Benoit against Bret Hart or something. It was just brilliant. It was brilliantly written as well, but the two characters were there was a kind of non-hardcore thing happening as well with, what was his name? One of the other 6WF guys. Probably get given out to tomorrow by Marky or something. Oh, you should have remembered him. Abe Abercorn. Abercorn.
I have heard that name before.
He was another anti-extreme bloke, and I think they formed a stable, the PCA or something like that. But it was just them two. Their stipulation as well was whoever lost had to leave, and then I think Lex left and PJ became champion. But it was just brilliantly written, and it was just a brilliant match. It was a great build up, and I think they had a triple threat with Hero as well at one stage. It was just a great match, and that's probably my favourite non-extreme.
I think Lex Hart versus I think it's O'Callaghan, is it, tonight?
The false Irishman.
Yeah, I think that one will be your new favourite. I'm only joking. I'm just getting back into writing singles matches after triple tag, quadruple tag purgatory, and I did enjoy writing that match, but it probably needed a bit more filler. But I was in a rush. But it's a very technical match.
I like reading stuff like, when was the last time someone won by a submission? Probably can't remember. Certain Perfect Jack match.
the problem is it's really difficult to write a submission. I did on the Thunderjack Hurst match, I've done like a rest hold spot, and it took probably about 20 minutes to figure out how to make it feel like a rest hold spot rather than just chin lock, few minutes, and then breaks out. Do you know what I mean? I had to sort of add a bit of tension to it, and it's hard to do a submission finish, I think, in a writing format.
It's easier to write extreme matches because obviously you have all the toys that go with it.
You can just go crazy.
Like I used to love writing extreme matches. I think at one stage I had my own show on 6CW. I think it was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I used to be in control of the tag team titles and the extreme matches, and I brought the extreme title back. I think Lex Hart for it, and I just really enjoyed writing the extreme matches. They weren't Liam Wood extreme, but they were extreme enough. I was a big ECW fan back in the day, so
stabbing somebody in the head with a shard of glass.
yeah, Yeah. When you read stuff like that, you can understand why the title got binned.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to, like we said in the discussion with Chris, it's so hard to keep topping that. You know, if we'd have had a winner at Day of Reckoning, at Night of Glory, you'd have had to have another match that topped that, and you'd have probably had to have a totally different winner. So, you know, in terms of storyline building, I respect them for sort of doing it. You know, it was a bold move, and we've got a TV title tournament.
It's a bold move, and it's working. But I think it was just the lack of heads up, lads. This is gonna happen.
Yeah,
that's what kind of annoyed me personally. Like, I've talked all about it as well. And
well, we had the conversation.
They should have at least given us a nod and saying, like, we're gonna get rid of the titles. Like, this is how it's gonna happen. But so we're at least ready and that. Oh shit, what happened?
Obviously, my sentiment was the same as yours, because I was writing promos towards either a result or a big spot, and then we sort of tamely fell through a table with glass on it or whatever it was. And we can talk about it all day long. It's sorted now.
It's over with. That's the way I see it now.
Yeah.
Chris had his meltdown. It was great. His Facebook meltdown when he was drunk. So that was it. Like, no one's to blame really at the end of the day, except for creative.
Speaking of creative, Oliver asked a question. Well, is it Marsh? Asked a question on Marsha on the podcast topic. He asked Dolphin Ziggler, Matt, or Paul McCarthy. Snog, marry, kill. Is it? I don't do it, but snog, marry, kill.
Snog, marry, avoid. Was that the one?
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen 3 of them on Facebook. So,
I mean, I've never been that way inclined, so I couldn't actually make a decision.
I had to. If you had to.
I had to. Okay. So.
You had to do one of them.
Okay, I would avoid Matt because I never see him on Facebook. So that's a logical choice. I never see him. So theoretically, if he never saw me, it wouldn't be a problem. I'll snog Chris because I like his voice. And then obviously I'd marry Paul McCarthy because he's rich.
So I'd probably... Is it Shag? I thought it was just Kiss. Jesus.
Oh, is it Shag? Oh God. Oh no. Shall we avoid this question?
Yeah, we'll avoid this one.
Yeah, we'll dance around that one, and we'll go for the...
Well, technically you already answered this, so I'll avoid it.
I said Kiss, not Shag.
Yeah, but what does Kiss lead on to? So technically...
A kiss is technically a Jeremy Kyle sexual contact, I'll agree. Okay, so I've got some questions from Paul McCarthy, which are generally stock Paul McCarthy questions for the podcast. First of all, who is your pick for the TV title and why?
Well, from the start it was Engel, because I think, as we touched on earlier, I think I don't know if any of the extreme blokes will win it. Well, obviously Dicey won't at this stage, but I think you deserve it. That's the big payer, because I think since you came back you've been probably one of, if not the top fucking promo in the Fed at the moment, and the character development, it's just been top notch, and I think you could go all the way. I don't know who you'll face in the final, or will Dicey come down and wreck your dreams, but
you see, I'm in two minds now. I'm not looking at the show, so I don't know what's happening, but obviously
at the moment I'm flicking back and forth.
So you know more than me, but obviously with the whole Dicey walking out, all me, you and Cerberus were all involved in a feud are we really cutting it short in the tournament by having you walk out and then Cerberus and Engel go the separate ways, or are we all going to walk out, or is something going to happen where you get involved in both matches? I think there's more to come from the Engel, Cerberus, Dicey, maybe Vincent Costello feud going into Night of Glory than there is Engel winning the TV title.
I don't know if Costello be still in that kind of.
I agree with Paul that Vincent Costello as a character is good to have around, because when he does promo, he promos really well. So
it's brilliant. He was a great character before he left. When we lost the title, that's kind of when he took a step back. I wasn't around for most of the best parts, because I only kind of was coming back and finding my feet in the Fed again before he lost the title and stuff like that happened. But obviously they want to keep him in the limelight until he does come back, because as I think they said in one of their podcasts that he's a great promo and deserves to be kind of still in around about there, and which that's up to them. But in there, kind of, when the three of us are hitting the high notes and we're kind of clicking together, and then there's some turning up all the time. It kind of takes a bit away from it.
I promoted with Anthony Grace, and a lot of people on Facebook chat said you and Anthony Grace have got some good chemistry. Does that mean that?
I said that.
Well, you weren't it? Do you sort of use that and sort of go, okay, this is a natural feud. Let's get them out of the TV title and get them in a feud for Night of Glory. It's a Liam Wood Dicey situation again, isn't it? Because in my eyes, all the feuds that I have had, which I've had maybe 2 matches in, just saying, all the feuds I've had since I've come back have felt natural. So I had a feud with Trail Kingdom, which lasted 1 match, and the promo beforehand felt like, this is a good thing to start off with, because it had a comparison to Joe Fraser and Engel. When Engel first came out, Joe Fraser was this sort of like up and coming athlete from the real world, as was Trail Kingdom. He was from the UFC or whatever, and Engel got a bit of an obsession. So that's how I sort of built that little back and forth, and then the match ended like that. Engel walked out because he wanted to get involved with Cerberus. That felt natural. Then you got involved and it felt even more natural. So in terms of like storylines, there's so many different things that could happen going into Night of Glory that I can't predict anything, and that's a good thing. One of the questions Paul asks is what are the main events for Night of Glory? Do you honestly know? Because I don't.
I don't, but actually in questions the paper about Reborn had the one, and Woods and Thunder. I think they're kind of the preliminary ones I think most people have. So as you said, nobody knows at this stage. I don't think up until, I know there's a long way to go to Night of Glory, but I say at this stage, I say most people have kind of guessed them, and then we kind of wait and see what happens over the next month or so.
Yeah, I mean it's a long road to Night of Glory.
That's very long road.
I mean they've announced the theme music today. I'm going to be listening to that like all the time up until Night of Glory, and I'll just be bored of it. What is the greatest EFED moment that you either witnessed or ever had?
One of them, obviously, the Leon coming out at Destiny after the Dicey match and winning the Royal Rumble, the 6CW or the 6WF Royal Rumble, where I think it was Gold Rush or something like that it was called. That's, for me, that was just perfect writing. I think JJ was in charge of the Dicey Leone feud at that stage, and I think the whole feud was just written perfectly. And then when it kind of ended, he kind of pushed Leone again. He came out, and I think he co-won it with Blue Dragon. I think they had a kind of triple threat feud or something with someone else then, but I think just that moment when he came out after being carried off in an ambulance, and then all of a sudden he was the last person to come out and just win, was just unbelievable.
Do you have any regrets, like, in your EFED career?
Even the first time I did, I think it was when we were on, I think both feds were on V2, and kind of had a couple of run-ins with the mods and stuff, and I was kind of getting busier and work, and I just kind of fell out of love with doing what I was doing, and I just messaged, I think it was Matt and JJ, and just said I'm gonna leave with the two characters, but I'll come back at some stage. I think I came back 6 months later, but I think I'd left for the wrong reason. But I think that's the only one I really have, and making Dicey a stereotypical Irish drunk. It kind of pens you in to the corner at some stage that you can't really get out, especially when you want to get out of that kind of mindset with people, but kind of people that are writing for you, like Dubs and stuff like that, they just Dicey coming out drunk, even though in the promo beforehand he's saying that he wants to get sober and he's doing all this, and all of a sudden he comes out locked again, and kind of tired.
Yeah, I mean, with Engel, when I first started as Engel, a lot of people were sort of comparing me to the Joker, because it was about the same time as Dark Knight came out, but I'd already done Engel as a character sort of years prior, and it was just sort of bringing him to life. But every time I said to sort of Dubs, you know, I don't want to be this like Joker, I don't want to be the clown character. You go on to the next show and it'd just be there like, why so serious? And you know, and sometimes, I mean, this current creative team are brilliant. They're brilliant because, you know, I can go to them and say, look, this is what I want to do. Let me write my promos, and if you can work with it, then I'll work with it, and it works. But back then, it sort of felt like you were their vision, if you know what I mean, and you were promoting whatever you wanted to promo, but you were their vision. So when the show came around, didn't matter what you'd promoed, and this is what I was when Jerome Dubois was going to leave 6CW, and me and you were sort of discussing taking over, which would have probably, I mean, I think it'd have been a good idea. I think personally you'd have been good at segments. Back then I was quite good at matches. Now I'm not so good, but I'm getting there. But you know, back then I think it would have been a good idea, because obviously you were good at the segments, I was good at the match writing side, and we also had ideas for bringing promos into the actual show stories rather than just doing our own thing. And that's what the creative team now are doing with the new 6CW, obviously.
Yeah, since JJ left, there was a bit of a kind of transition period, but they have stepped up their game, and they have.
I have to object to this transition period. I have to object because a lot of people moaned about the timing of the show, and it was during the time when certain people came back from their 6WF exile, and there were issues with the timing, but we knew on Facebook chat that Matt was genuinely ill. Do you know what I mean? So although there was a delay on the show was a good show.
Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't that thing. It wasn't a bad show. It was just you kind of wait for it, and then
Yeah.
Wait kind of the next day or
I mean,
whatever.
that is my only.
I think it was more so that when what happened with 6WF when it never got finished because certain people just didn't do their job and still haven't done their job.
Is it? Has it not finished yet? Is there still a main event to go or something? Or
we're still waiting for the pay-per-view. I think half of it was written and the other half was supposed to be posted, but then it has never been posted since.
If we can ever get the whole transcript of that that show, I will happily do a podcast play of the show just for everybody.
That's if.
That it's an if, obviously.
If it was actually written.
Have you got an EFED bucket list?
Salty about that.
Yeah, have you got an EFED bucket list?
The bucket list?
Yeah.
For Dicey, I don't know, probably just have a good match at Nog. That's it, just not even have the big moment of winning titles or anything, just have a match that people go, geez, that's be up there with a match of the night, you know. That's I don't really mind about titles and stuff like that, but as long as the storyline is good and like people have good reactions to the way it's going and the match, especially at obviously the biggest night of 6CW, would be kind of to show you that you're doing a good job. Not that people, you're doing a great job, here's a pat on the back. It's like the match, well, we don't write the matches, we just kind of set them up, and if they're set up properly then the matches will be up there.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like titles, like you get titles down the line at some stage. Everyone gets titles down the line or something, unless they promo on Sunday nights. But
well, what about Man Mountain Mike? He weren't going to get a title, were he?
Why not?
This was his biggest opportunity, this TV title tournament. Who in 6CW right now? Joshua is not in there, so immediately one of the biggest guys in 6CW is out of there. So you've got Man Mountain Mike and Cerberus. Now, if they were to stay apart all the way through the tournament, who realistically could take out Man Mountain Mike?
Max Adamson. You have to do it at the Royal Rumble thing.
Man Mountain Mike. Man Mountain Mike is still confused by that. He does not know who Max Adams' son is.
So it could be Captain Australia, as he was known as well at some stage. It's a superhuman strength.
Yeah. Well, as I say, these questions were stock questions from Paul McCarthy. He asked me the same sort of questions when I did the
What's your bucket list?
Yes, this is what I was going to get to. I answered it, and I actually said my bucket list was a little bit opposite to yours. I do want Engel to get a major title at some point, because I do put a lot of work into him, but obviously I don't want to do that in spite of others. But I also said, this is another Dicey loving, so just bear with me. I also said at some point I want Dicey Reilly to retire Engel.
Retiring people.
Yeah, but
it's a bit.
I just think that because
retire each other.
Retire each other. Now that could be a good thing, but
what about if they had a big Cactus Jack versus Kerry Funk moment? The two of them just literally annihilated each other. That was it. They had a big shake of hands and just walked off together in the distance.
See, I actually said that on the last podcast, that I would like Dicey and Engel to have a sort of, you know what, handshake and look at each other and just say, yeah, okay, I hate you, but that were a good match. Do you know what I mean? I don't want the whole next night with a tag team. I just want the whole shake hands and be like, wow, you put me through it. Because I think win or lose, if Engel and Dicey put on a good match, I think win or lose on either side, it'd make them both look strong, because the way Engel wrestles makes other people look strong, and the way that obviously he takes the punishment makes him look strong at the same time. So it's a win-win situation. I'm about I'm about a quarter of the way down this JD now, by the way.
Have nothing. No beer or nothing. Sell one Dicey Reilly of me.
I would send some over the whole Skype Airways, but it won't get to you in time. Usually what we do now is you take over the show, ask me some questions. So have you got some stuff for me?
I'll ask you what Paul asked. And who do you think the TV title winner is going to be?
Who do I think the TV title is going to be? I think Thunder.
Thunder?
I've got a feeling that the TV title is going to be the Thunder and Liam Wood rivalry, and I think that it will. I don't know. I just got that feeling.
Yeah, but if he wins, didn't he lose the international title because he was getting the push? So him winning the TV title, I don't think it makes sense, would it?
It wouldn't.
Kind of a step back. Everyone thought he was going to have his moment, but he didn't have it.
Exactly, he didn't get his moment. So obviously something's changed in Creative's mind to not have him have his Night of Glory moment as the world champ. So maybe he goes into this TV title tournament and wins the TV title tournament.
An idea.
I mean,
everyone thinks it's going to be one of the extreme title blows because of what happened, but obviously Dicey's out of the running.
Look, I'm not the type of person that bigs myself up, but if I'd have put my money on it before tonight, I would have said Man Mountain Mike every single time.
Wouldn't we all?
Exactly, you know. There's only Chris that had it in for him. Paul McCarthy loved him. No, he didn't.
Matt.
Nobody loved him.
Matt on podcast.
So okay, carry on with your questions.
Well, we touched on it earlier. The main event for NOG.
Main events of Night of Glory. I think you'll have the obvious one, Robin Reborn and Joshua. I think that's pretty much fixed now because obviously they was kept out of the TV title tournament. So you know they've got their own thing going on. That is the main event in my eyes. As for other main events, I'm gonna say, if for whatever reason Thunder and Liam Wood don't go into the final, then it'll be Thunder and Liam Wood for the EWF? Yeah. If they do go to the final, then it'll be something like a 6CW versus Forgotten. Whatever's left of the Forgotten, obviously, because everyone's falling apart at the minute.
Are the Forgotten disbanded now, aren't they?
Are they actually disbanded, or is it just like...
Did Jones not say he doesn't need them anymore, and they're kind of not there, and they're not... I don't think they are about anymore.
If that's the case, then I apologise. It'll probably just be Liam Wood and Thunder, and I'm probably totally wrong on the TV title tournament, and that'll probably be... I think Dicey will stay in it. I think there'll be a way that Dicey gets back into the TV title tournament.
I don't think he wants to. I think he just wants to not be in it just to piss Mr. Jones off, because he pissed him off.
What if Mr. Jones says that if he doesn't, then he'll never get to fight again? Because obviously the whole storyline is the let them fight thing, and he wants to fight. What if Mr. Jones says if you don't get involved, you ain't having another match?
Then it makes some very exciting promos. Very explicit ones.
You'll just spend a lot of time with Sally Hendricks, won't you?
Huh?
Does your missus sort of read the Sally Hendricks stuff?
No, my wife never knew I was doing this until I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. think it was 4 years into it. This is kind of a little nerdy secret.
But it's cool. It's cool. We were talking about this whole nerdy little secret. Say that again, sorry, mate.
She says she hasn't read any of the stuff. I think she came across one of the chats not on my phone. It was one of the V2 chats or something, and she asked me, and I told her, and she just kind of laughed at me. That was it. But she said she hasn't read any of the Dicey stuff, but I know how inquisitive she is, so I say she has at some stage.
Maybe
she'll listen to this anyway.
Maybe she's a secret Engel fan.
Maybe she's in the Fed. Maybe she's Thunder.
Maybe she's Ed Kent.
Fucking hell.
Little did you know, eh?
Didn't Twos have his girlfriend in one of the Feds? Wasn't it 6WF?
I don't know.
She used to write some of the promos as well. I think she was the girlfriend of, it was James McManus.
Speaking of the whole secret. Speaking of the whole secret e-feder thing, Paul came up with an idea for a new podcast where basically everybody has to do an interview, and it's sort of like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing. We'll call it "My name is such and such, and I'm an e-feder." It should be "My name is such and such, and I'm a secret e-feder." I think that could work. I think, you know, I don't explain things to people what I do on the site. It's sort of like a secret society.
Yeah, it's I think it's a lot of people's little secret. And I know Darren and his girlfriend discuss the PPVs and stuff beforehand, and feuds and all that kind of stuff, which is, I think it's great, but I don't think my wife understands. Like tonight, she was like, "Oh, how are you going to do this on the Xbox? Do you not have to play the game?" And I was like, "It's not a game." So I don't think she kind of understands. It's just all in my head kind of thing.
Did you get my ad on Xbox, by the way?
I think I did.
Yeah,
I should have, yeah.
Have you got The Division?
No, I don't. The internet down here is really slow, much to my eldest son's hate of us moving him from Dublin down the country. But it's too slow for, like, I had to get rid of Elder Scrolls Online and stuff like that because I just couldn't play it because it was lagging too much.
Elder Scrolls Online's an amazing game.
That was the bit I played of it before I traded in for something I could play offline as well.
We're trying to get a Geekcast going. So if you ever want to sort of geek out a bit.
For that. So I still collect comics and go to all the movies, and I'm a big nerd, as I'm told all the time. Collect Aquaman figures because I'm probably his biggest fan, probably the only one in the world.
Am I just like going through Paul's questions now? Is that what's happening?
No, you still have a few left. The greatest E-Fed moment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'm going through Paul's questions. Have you got any of your own? I'm going to answer these, but
I don't know. One of them that Paul wrote as well. Probably, what's your E-Fed regret?
Okay, so greatest E-Fed moment. Probably it is a toss-up between the three-headed cock stuff and the Engel's Aftermath, because Engel's Aftermath was sort of my first go at writing a show in about 3 years, and I enjoyed doing it. I wanted to take control of as much as possible, so I said to you, obviously, you do some Dicey segments. I think I said to Jeff, you do a Jeff segment, because I'd not done any segments for 6CW at that point, so I didn't want to sort of take liberties with it. I just said, right, you do your own. And And then I think me, PJ, and Gazzy did a few matches, and I just really enjoyed that whole process. At the same time, the three-headed cock stuff. I hate saying three-headed cock on the podcast, but anyway, that set of promos, I just really enjoyed having the fun with it and just going a little bit wild, because obviously Engel is sort of determined to get somewhere in 6CW now. That's in his character, but part of me writing Engel is my crazy side. So when I'm able to express that, like with the Asylum promo that I did for the Anthony Grace match, just having that little bit of an outlet where I can just be a bit silly, I enjoy doing that. So I'd probably say Engel's Aftermath for definite, and then the three-headed penis-shaped object. But yeah, that's how I'd probably do it. It'd probably be Aftermath, but then close second is my recent promos with you, that were a bit fourth wall breaking. In terms of EFED regrets, I regret joining up originally when I was going through a bad part of my life and just not sort of wanting to create this character and have this creative outlet, but then when things went tits up and I was part of storylines, I just sort of left, and I don't like that I did that. I don't like that I then came back as part of the fight against Genesis, had a title match against Lex Hart, which could have led somewhere else, and then just sort of did it again, which is why this time I've sort of said, right, okay, I'm sticking by it, I'm doing it, I'm doing podcasts, I'm trying to get involved with the show as much as possible so that I'm a part of it. I'm writing matches, segments, and it's keeping my mind occupied. I do a lot of work, obviously, in my real job. Everyone seems to phone in sick on me and stuff like that, but I still find time to cut promo. I still find time to get matches, even if I do not sleep. But it's good. I enjoy it now, and my biggest regret was just leaving the way I did without really explaining. So yeah, there you go.
Here's one from, I think Ollie did who's your favourite underrated character?
Favourite underrated character? Oh, God. I've been so far out of the loop that it's a tough one. But what about when Genesis had there was a guy, I think he was a Russian, like Iceberg or something like that.
Udo Berg.
His promos were actually quite good, and I enjoyed them.
That's Lee. He did Logan Kincaid as well.
Yeah.
6WF.
I really enjoyed Udo Berg. I wouldn't know if he was sort of underrated. I can't say that there's that many people that are underrated. I'd probably say Man Mountain Mike is a little bit, but I can't pick him because he's my character. But no, in terms of what I know, I'd probably say like Udo Berg, even to an extent, even Perfect Jack, because as long as I've known Perfect Jack, he's been involved in the main event and he's sort of been up there, but he's always been sort of an upper mid-carder that sometimes like transition champions and things like that. So, you know, like Perfect Jack, I enjoy the character. So
I think the thing with Jack was, I think he kind of got fed up with the character, and he was always trying to come up with something new for him to do, but he was always kind of dragged back to the perfect character.
Mark Matsko.
He never got kind of developed, if that's the right word.
No, I understand that. I mean, there is only so far you can go. If you, because to me, Perfect Jack is basically based on McGillicuddy and Mr. Perfect, and that's the character, and to develop that beyond that sort of wall is very difficult, because you can't, if you're Mr. Perfect, how can you be showing weakness and stuff like that? Do you know what I mean? It's very difficult.
That's why I like the dynamic between him and Lex when they do perfect execution, because Lex is kind of his perfection. Not that Lex isn't in, but he's the kind of cocky heel, and kind of Miss Jessica there as well, and kind of the three of them together kind of just work.
Yeah, I mean, Lex as a character is amazing. He just hates Engel to the point that he called him Bozo, and that is going to always. I will never. The question before about never forgiving Paul for the whole Genesis reveal, I will never forgive Paul for Bozo the Clown. There is going to be some repercussions at some point. I was hoping it'd be a Day of Reckoning, but he sort of chickened out of the ring before Engel got there.
Here's one for you. What's the greatest stable?
The greatest stable?
Did you, throughout the time you've been kind of hearing?
Is it just in 6CW? Because obviously I've been in other feds.
Well, I wouldn't know the other feds, so let's say.
Okay, so just in 6CW, it's got to be Genesis, hasn't it? I mean, Genesis was the original sort of, we own creative, we are basically going to be champs, and we're going to control 6CW, and then you've got Team 6CW, which is like the rebels fighting back against it. That is the original feud, and even with the Forgotten, you can't match that feud. That feud had legs, and it went and it ran, and it was a well written feud. Other than that, I've not really been a big part of 6CW to be able to say, but the Circus of Horrors was good while I was in there.
Isn't that a pity that when that was kind of building up to something, then it kind of disappeared and then it kind of fell apart, but it was building up to be a huge stable, especially with, what was it, you, Cerberus, and who was the other one?
I can't remember.
There was another monster.
There was it Patient X?
No, it was Orteus or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So now, as the two of them chokeslammed Dicey down 50 stairs and broke his back, and he lost the title. How many stairs? 50 stairs.
50 stairs. How many did Liam Wood send you down?
50.
Another 50?
That's it, that's Dicey's limit, it's 50. So if it's anything below that, he gets above it's 50. That's it, he's gone.
So I have written in my head now how we will both retire. We're going to fall down 51 stairs together.
Should only be dead. There'd be no getting up.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the title picture now, do you see? Obviously, Joshua is still Jones as champion. I know obviously the Forgotten is sort of disbanded, but Joshua is still Jones as champion.
I think he thinks once he still has him, he has control.
Do you see this ending at Night of Glory, or do you think it'll go on to the summer?
I think whoever Joshua faces, if it's Reborn or if it's Thunder or if Ghazi D comes back or whoever, I think that's when Joshua's going to end being champion. I think in a way, I think it's a good thing for Darren, because then Grace can get the push that he deserves with Grace. So I think it's just with him having two great characters, it's hard for creative to give him everything. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just looking.
So I think Joshua falling back a bit, maybe even doing an Undertaker and disappearing for a while and then coming back later on in the year or something, give Grace that kind of push into the limelight that he should be having at the moment, but it's just that Joshua's there. I think most people would probably agree with that as well.
I think when you've got a heel champ as your main, your main character, and then you've got a face guy, you don't want to see the same guy promo against the other one, against the same guy. It don't work. So obviously, in a sense, Joshua is holding Twist back from getting Anthony Grace somewhere, but I think Darren has been quite vocal in the point that when he loses the title with Joshua is going to disappear for a bit.
Yeah.
So it opens up avenues for Anthony Grace. Is Anthony Grace?
Will he heel turn on Max, or will Max heel turn on him, or will they just have an amicable?
I think that's the problem.
Shake hands and
I think that's the problem with Anthony Grace, because Anthony Grace was originally created, if I'm not mistaken, he was originally created as sort of like the perfect face, as sort of like a piss take of was it Kenty?
Probably.
I'm sure that is how Darren worded it. So to have him have a heel turn, would it actually work for the character?
Yeah, but does he want him to be? Does he want another face run after just having a big face run, heel run with? He says that having one with Joshua.
Have you
want another heel run, or?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, personally, if I was Anthony Grace, if I was Twist, if I was Anthony Grace, then Jesus Christ, I'd be happy. But if I was Twist, I would personally say, look, I'm a face. Let's have a face run now. I've had this big heel run with Joshua. You've got Thunder coming through. You've got obviously Robin Reborn, Jack Hurst, a few others, all faces. Have you been following the show tonight?
I'm trying not to. I'd rather read it and work in the morning.
Okay, fair enough. I won't ruin anything for you, but I've the Thunder versus Jack Hurst match. I wrote. Now I'm just reading through it now, and obviously it's face versus face, but Hurst comes out with Kelsey Callahan. So
she is a big deal, isn't she?
Apparently so. I mean, she's sort of like, is she going to influence Hurst?
Type thing, is she?
Yeah, is she going to influence Hurst to be sort of heel, and then where does that leave Robin Reborn? Does Robin Reborn go into a feud with Hurst straight after Night of Glory, or there's so many things opening up at the minute that Anthony Grace has either got to sort of push as this face and go for probably the EWF title against Liam Wood, because I think Liam Wood won the title at Day of Reckoning, I don't think he should lose it at Night of Glory, because obviously it's only in terms of actual wrestling sense, it's only a month.
Yeah, I'm just flicking through the results and that in the matches. So
You just look at the results.
I could kind of pick. I could have probably taken most of the results anyway. Kind of get past the first round, and then it kind of gets interesting with more bigger kind of stars against each other. It's a big tournament.
Cerberus actually fought his match and won, so I was wrong about my theory that we'd all walk out.
Yeah, so you're the main event, aren't you?
No, I'm the match before the main event. You can't put Engel as the main event. Mr. Jones hates him.
Who cares? I mean, fuck Jones.
That was pretty much your match. Fuck Jones, fuck Jones, fuck Jones.
And he's been saying that for a while. I think Twist came up with that, didn't he? Or something like that. I think he said it with the chat, or he said it in a promo or something, and I think I just ran with it.
It was a promo. Was it the hashtag one that he started it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the promo after Day of Reckoning.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, have you got any more questions for me?
What changed your mind about coming back to 60?
Right, what changed my mind?
Or what made you come back?
Well, basically, I kept looking. I kept like popping onto 606V2 and clicking on 6CW and having a look, and I kept wanting to write a promo and thinking it's a bad idea. They're not going to let me come back, or they're just going to look at me and think, well, they'll write a few promos, we'll give him a match, and then it'll just disappear. So I just kept putting it off, and then I think it was just before New Dawn, and I'd seen the guy, I think it was McManus, and he had a bit of a clown gimmick going on, and I thought, you know what, there's only one guy with a clown gimmick, and I just had to write a promo, so you can sort of thank or blame Jimbo for bringing me back.
I had a question there in my head, but fucking Ed popping up on the chat just fucking put me over.
It's always Ed.
Who would you like to see come back?
Who would I like to see come back? Probably. Well, I don't know if you've read my Asylum promo.
Probably did at some stage.
At the end, he's with the doctor, and he says, "Can I play the game?" And the doctor goes like, "What game?" And he says, "The game where you show me the photos, and if I react badly, you give me an electric shock." And then the doctor's like, "No, not today." And he goes, "Can I just look at that picture in your drawer there?" And the doctor says, and he goes to say something, and he's alluding to a guy from Engel's past, who is currently promoing as somebody else, and I want to try and bring him back, but I don't want to say it on the podcast because
Ghazi?
No. I don't think Engel and Ghazi have had any feuds, have they?
No. Who else?
Just think of Day One Engel.
I can't remember that far back. I'm trying to think who's in the Fed now and who has different characters.
We spoke about it earlier on, with the whole Chell Kingdom rivalry, sort of harking back to Engel's debut.
Joe Frazier.
Yeah, I think the whole Joe Frazier storyline never had a finish. It had a few, like, obviously Engel putting Joe Frazier through something, but I did want Joe Frazier in the end to sort of get the win, which never happened because obviously Engel had his aftermath where he pretty much destroyed Joe Frazier, and then nothing came of it because Engel went on his own way and then I disappeared. Me and JJ, obviously, when I came back, the first person I spoke to was JJ. I didn't even realise he was Joe Frazier at some point. So we were talking, and I'm like, yeah, I really want to come back. And JJ were like, mate, if you're going to come back, that's great. And I was just literally sort of saying, look, I'm not going to leave, I'm going to be here, I'm going to do it for the long haul, and blah, blah. And then one day, I think me and Paul were talking about, sort of Engel as a character. And I said that the whole not being the clown thing, there has to be a trigger. There has to be sort of like a hook that takes him back to that. And I want it to be Joe Frazier. I want it to be the guy that he stalked for, you know, weeks and weeks, like obsession. Like he had a room full of like posters of Joe Frazier everywhere because he wanted to be Joe Frazier because Joe Frazier was this perfect athlete. He wants to be the face of 6CW. So in my eyes, if that ever happens, that would be a perfect rivalry for Engel.
Fair enough. Did Jay not bring him back?
Did
you ask him?
I hinted at it, and I'm gonna keep putting little hints in my promos and hope that he picks up on it. And
will,
you know,
JJ ever come back?
JJ is back, isn't he? I mean, he's
yeah, he's back as Connor. Is it Connor? Something? Sorry, my wife was making a cup of tea and being very noisy.
It's fine. It sounded like Spurs had scored a goal.
Yes, Spurs. She's turned off. It's like a jet engine.
Is it one of them kettles that's whistles?
No. We're not that posh. It's a normal kettle.
Oh man. So looking forward to is it Beachfront Brawl?
That's cancelled, isn't it?
Is it cancelled?
Yeah, that's why I had it in the promo about it was supposed to be in Dublin and they cancelled it. That's why
I'm still pushing for the empty arena match. I think that should be a thing. I think regardless of the whole TV title tournament, we should have a empty arena match on the night that Beachfront Brawl should have took place.
Probably down the line that'll happen, but I don't see it happening at this stage.
Is there actually a beach at Dublin?
Yeah, there's loads of beaches in Dublin.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's me shown.
We live in an island. There's beaches all around. Some of them not very clean, but they're beaches. When the sun comes out, you get all the little scumbags going down, kicking the head off each other.
Are you planning on coming to the SummerSlam meet?
Probably not at this stage.
Oh no.
But if I could, I would. But at this stage, it's probably a no.
Would you be willing to do sort of like a a podcast with us in London doing the whole SummerSlam thing and you from Ireland talking to us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? That'd be cool.
Wait, how are you gonna get a quiet spot to do this?
Well, my thinking is, right, if we go to a Wetherspoons before, because you can't get until 7:30 anyway, so you go to a Wetherspoons, we find a plug socket, they've got free Wi-Fi, we'll do a podcast, and then we go to SummerSlam.
So you're gonna do it before?
Yeah. We're not going to do it during. That was my original idea. I was actually going to do a solo one for WrestleMania, but I've tried probably about 6 or 7 times now to do a solo podcast. Just to fill in when I can't get any guests or I can't do one when everyone else is free. And I do it for about 5 minutes and it just sounds awful. And I just nope, not doing it. So the whole WrestleMania podcast didn't work either.
Have any more questions?
I have no questions for you because the 6CW universe is not being very
Forthcoming with the meter.
No, they're not at all. I mean, I sent them out. I sent the message out early to get some questions in, and the only one I got was Snog, Marry or Avoid, or Shag, or whatever it was.
Shag, Marry, Avoid.
Dec, will you be coming on the podcast again?
Yep, I thought if you were having one Wednesday, I'd do that as well.
I don't think we're doing it on Wednesday now because
Paul, I can't do it.
Paul's not free. I've got no co-host again. Marky's not free. The only person that's free is Ed tomorrow afternoon. Obviously, you're not free then. So I'm just going to destroy Ed for probably about the same as this one. Probably about 2 hours.
Yeah, whenever the next one is, pencil me in. Like I don't.
Well, I've tried doing a weekly format and it don't work because my shifts at the minute are just stupid. So I just, like this week I'm doing 2 podcasts. Next week I might only do 1, but I'll try and get something with creative. Just to give them a bit of a roast and see what's what. But anyway, thank you for being on the show, Dec. It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and to be honest, I could talk to you for another hour, 2 hours, but I think we'd just totally go off topic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for being on the show, and we'll see you again soon.
Anytime.
Cheers, man.
Alright, obviously, except for tomorrow even.
Tomorrow afternoon, me and Ed is going to be exciting.
You and Sex Ed getting together.
Sex Ed. I'm sure there'll be conversations about drugs, and by that point I will have written my Man Mountain Mike retirement promo, so that'll probably come up. And depending on what happens with the results for the rest of the night, there'll probably be some conversation about that. So hopefully you'll have a listen, and I hope you have a good day tomorrow at work, and we'll speak soon about next podcast.
Yeah, no problem.
Right then, pal. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
That was the 6CW Legacy podcast. I'd like to thank you again, Dec, for being on the show, and hopefully we can get Ed Kent on tomorrow afternoon if he is recovered from his own hangover, and talk about the results for Anarchy this week. Thank you for being on the show. I'm sorry if I got a little bit tipsy, and later, guys.